balanced. But the part that I see most people cheap out on without even knowing it is the power supply.
No, this power supply is probably the cheapest thing that I've ever seen. It doesn't even have OCP.
What about the power supply? Oh, I just picked up some no-name brand one. A no-name brand? Let me see it. What is this, dude?
When building a PC, never cheap out on your power supply.
This is called a catastrophic failure. So is this, and this. And all of these power supplies are the Gigabyte GP P750 GM, or closely related GP P850 GM.
Hi guys, welcome to another video. I'm Charlie from Vermos Gaming Systems, looking for the best PC price use so you don't have to. So in this video, we're going to talk about power supplies because power supply is the part that most PC builders say you should never skimp out on. But if you look at like the price list from SimLim, you can actually see there are quite a few power supply deals, especially at like the 650 watt, 550 watt, 750 watt price range. So what kind of power supply should you buy and what should you avoid? What might blow up your PC and what might last you for like 5 years to 10 years, right? So it's really difficult to know. So first, I want to recommend you guys to check out this SPL PSU tier list. If you actually Google for PSU tier list, so let's try it out. So PSU tier list, right? PSU means power supply unit. You will have a few options here. The one from Cultist Network, but if you see the last update was 4th November 2023, which is about 2 years ago. So you really don't want to go with the Cultist Network one. And then the more recent one is from Zack's Tech Turf, which is a ZTT, which is a pretty popular tech YouTuber because he runs his PC building channel, PC building company in America, and he has his YouTube channel. So he actually hosts this PSU tier list. Take note that this tier list is not written by him. It is endorsed by him, and I think it's quite reliable as well. But it is actually written by SPL, which is the author, and it's accessible. It's a Google Docs, so it's a publicly accessible Google Docs which you cannot edit, but you can actually view. So yeah, then it says here, welcome to SPL's PSU tier list, and when I read through it, it works very similarly to the Cultist Network's PSU tier list, and ZTT is not contributed to this PSU tier list other than helping to popularize and promote it. You can see that SPL is the author and the analyst, and he has a few other fellow analysts and senior and junior contributors to this list as well. So if you're looking through this list, first you want to know what the tiers are for and what tiers you should directly avoid and what tiers you should buy for what kind of builds. So they have a really good recommendation here. You can see that this PSU tier list is really geared for gamers. So you can see that tier F is unsafe for use. They say try replace it immediately if you have a tier F PSU. Tier E is also not recommended. Please kindly avoid. Tier D is suitable for builds that has no GPU. So if you're talking about those small form factor builds or like those integrated graphics builds, like you have your Dell called the Dell mini box for offices and so on, they actually don't have any GPU inside. They're only running on integrated graphics. So it's probably safe for you to use a tier D PSU because you're only running on integrated graphics. It's not a very high spike in power usage. Tier C is recommended for budget builds with lower end or older hardware. So he put some examples. Let's say you're running a 3060, 4060, maybe the 1000 or 2000 series, right? 2060, 1060 and so on, all the way to like a 2070, 5700 XT and so on, which is about a 250 watt GPU. So tier C PSUs are recommended for those. And then if you're going for higher end GPUs, let's say you have the 7800 XT, 7700 XT, 4060 Ti, I would say for like 5070s, 6800, 9070, even the 9070 XT is actually considered a mid-range GPU. So those GPUs typically take up from anywhere from like 200 watts to about 350 watts. I believe the 9070 XT should take close to like 350 watts. And so those kind of GPUs that take up slightly higher wattage but mid-range builds, it's recommended for you to go for at least a tier B. Obviously, you can go for tier A PSU, and we have our tier A, which is recommended for high-end builds. So the examples of the GPUs listed here, obviously you have your 5090s, 5080s, 4090s, 3090s, which is the high voltage requirement GPUs. I believe a 5090 takes about 600 watts. A 5080 and a 4090, I'm not too sure. I think 4090 takes up about 450 to 500 watts. A 5080, I believe, should only take about 300 watts if I'm around there. So then a 3090 would take about 300 plus to 400 watts. 6950 XT, I believe, takes close to 300 plus watts. 7900 XTX, I have one, is actually under RMA now. It's taking about 350 watts as well. So generally, those higher end GPUs that has higher wattage requirements, then you want to go for a tier A PSU to protect your expensive GPU investment. Okay, so knowing that, if you are really interested in how the author SPL comes up with his own tier list and how he rates, how he categorizes, this is supposed to be in tier F and that is supposed to be tier A, you can actually read through all the details here. I won't go through them in this video. Okay, tiering criteria is also in another tab. You can see that it's pretty detailed, right? So a pretty detailed description on how he manages it. So let's move on. Okay, so I've gone through online as well as the Simlim price list, and I find that the PSU price deals are mostly from Simlim. The online ones don't have as wide a selection of power supply units as from the sim shops and Simlim. Just as Simlim has been dealing with power supplies for close to, I think, 3 to 4 decades. So yeah, they have a good, they have a lot of PSUs in supply, and they have new ones, they have old ones as well. And so on and so forth. And they have one that's a pretty good deals and one that are more expensive. So first I want to go through what is considered tier F. If you actually look at this section here, tier F, surprisingly quite a few of the well-known name brands like Silverstone, Superflower, Seasonic, Montec I think is not that well known, but Deepcool is also more well known as well. So these are actually well known power supply brands, but they do also manufacture certain, they do have some PSU that they are selling under their brand name, which is tier F or tier E. The reason for that is that it is not built by Superflower or Silverstone themselves, even though they do build some good PSUs. If you look here, they have actually ODM, which is I think the original distribution manufacturer or something like that, which means that let's say Silverstone wants 850 watt unit. They actually don't build it themselves. For this series, the LT series, they actually outsource it to another manufacturer in China who actually makes the unit for them and then brands it. Then it ships them to wherever Silverstone is located, could be China, could be Taiwan, and then they brand it under the Silverstone brand name. So doesn't mean that Silverstone is a good brand and then any of the PSUs under Silverstone should be good. So that's where the PSU tier list is for. So the Silverstone Attis series from 650 watt all the way to 850 watt, the Superflower Zillion DB 650 watt and the Seasonic S12 3 650 watt are all considered tier F. Well, for the Attis series, actually it is not really a fire hazard yet, but the SPL, which is the author of the PSU tier list, has stated that he actually has not reviewed the Attis Bronze series yet for the Silverstone PSUs. And yeah, there's so many PSUs in the tier list, right? But he's categorizing them under tier F for now because it's I think the manufacturer for those Attis series PSUs don't have a very good rep under his testing, so he's considered them pretty sus. So he's gonna leave him at tier F for safety reasons until further review. But to be safe, just avoid this tier F PSUs for now. Also, we have tier E PSUs to avoid. So the Silverstone ST50F, which is a 500 watt, the Strider Essential, Silverstone ST60F, so 50F, 60F, and the ST65F, all the Strider Essential series from 500 watt to 650 watt, even though they are priced pretty attractively, like anywhere from $55 for the 500 watt to $68 for 650 watt, is considered tier E, which is something to be avoided. So even though they are cheap, please try not to buy them. Even if you have a budget build that you want to try and flip, it is, I wouldn't say they are fire hazard, but they are failure hazard, right? And they can actually, a bad PSU can actually damage the other parts of the computer, of the gaming PC. Then we moving on, Superflower Zillion DB 550 watt and the Superflower Zillion DB 650 watt PSUs are also considered tier E PSUs, also to avoid. Then there's the Montech AP series. So there's the Montech AP 550 watt all the way to 750 watt series PSUs. If you see their price on like Tech Deals and Trade Pack, you can see the price is really attractive. Like a 550 watt from PSU for as cheap as $49 from Tech Deals. So the reason why it's so cheap, because it is actually a tier E PSU. It is made with older technology or cheaper technology, but it doesn't pass a lot of the modern day requirements of a modern day PC. So yeah, it's considered tier E. It is not safe. And then a 750 watt PSU for as low as $69 or $70 seems too good to be true, and because it is a tier E PSU. Then the Deepcool PF 550 80 plus standard PSU is also considered a tier E PSU. So to avoid. Then moving on, these are the acceptable PSUs for your budget builds, which is the tier C PSUs. So I've actually highlighted which ones I find that are really good deals. So first we have the FSP, which is another power supply brand, HV Pro 650 watt 80 plus bronze. You can find it for about 67 SGD. So that's a pretty good deal. If you are looking for the 550 watt PSU, so you can see there's the FSV HV Pro 550 watt. That is $59 Sing dollars, and then the other one is the FSV 550 watts bronze HV 85 plus Pro. That is priced at 58 Sing dollars from Bizgram Asia. And then the 650 watt, similar price to the other one, also from FSP 750 watts bronze HV 85 plus Pro, also from Bizgram Asia, is selling at 67 Sing dollars. So I would say these are pretty good deals and pretty safe for a budget build, because they are from 550 watt to 650 watt. So if you're powering a lower power GPU, like maybe a 4060, 3060s and so on, yeah, or maybe you have an older build, let's say a 1060, right, and or 960 and so on. So yeah, so these PSUs are pretty safe. Moving on, if you're looking for slightly higher voltage but still you're okay with a tier C requirement, because your parts are a little bit older, your GPU is a little bit older or less power intensive, 750 watts tier C PSUs from Thermalright is actually pretty decently priced. So you can see there's one here, 750 watt, the SG Go SG750S, non-modular. This non-modular means the cables come attached, you cannot detach them. It's ATX 3.1 and Gen 5 though. That means it does have the 12 volt high power cable, but because it is tier C, take note, some of the 12 volt high power is not rated for 600 watts. Some of it is rated at maximum 450 watts. It's like it can barely support a 4090, but please don't buy a tier C CPU to power your 4090, because your 4090 is still a very expensive GPU, even though it is used. Try and get a tier A PSU to power it, right, to be safe. So yeah, but if you are going for a much cheaper GPU, like maybe a 5060 Ti or like a 5070, right, you can power it with the 12 volt high power using the Thermalright power supplies. So yeah, the 750 watt is 95. You can find a cheaper one from Dynacore at 90 Sing dollars, and there's an 850 watt version of it, the SG Go, Thermalright SG Go SG850S, also non-modular, priced at 109. So this is the black version. The white version will be more expensive. And you can also find this Thermalright TRTG850S 850 watt. This is also in black and white. I believe this should be non-modular as well. Go P, ATX 3.0, 80 plus rating. This is at 110 Sing dollars. So this is an 850 watt unit from Thermarite, tier C. Okay. And moving on, so if you're having a mid-range build, like I mentioned, if you're rocking a 7800 XT, if you're using a 6800, maybe a 6800 XT, you are using a 5070, 5070 Ti, 4070 Ti, 4070 Super, so on. What are mid-range? Yeah, anything less than 4080, I think will be considered mid-range. Yeah. So for tier B PSUs, we have a 750 watt PSU here. Cheapest one I can find is the Silverstone ET750 HG 80 plus Go, semi-modular. That means I think the 24 pin cable is non-detachable, but probably the PCIe cables are detachable. That is from 90 Sing dollars. That is from Dynacore. Then if you are looking for, so this is another 700 and, this is an 800 watt unit. So if you're looking for slightly more wattage, just a little bit more expensive, we have the Cooler Master G800 Go, which is also non-modular. So all the cables are fully attached. Usually the non-modular ones are more expensive. The modular PSUs are a little bit more expensive. So this is from Laser Distributor, from Simlim as well, with a 5-year warranty, priced at 105 Sing dollars. And the other 750, this is 1000 watt. Okay, so if you are rocking I would say an older GPU, but you don't want to spend over $200 for 1000 watt PSU, I guess. So I think a tier B PSU should be pretty safe to power something like a 4080, for example, right? If you want to be really safe, I would suggest you spend with probably another $50 more and go for the tier A PSUs, which I will go through later. But if you're looking for a tier B PSU, which is rated at least 1000 watts, so we have the Silverstone DA1000R, 1000 watt ATX 3.0, 80 plus Go, should be fully modular PSU, priced at 185 Sing dollars. So that's for 1000 watts. Again, that's from Dynacore. And moving on, finally, we have our tier A. So tier A, if you're powering your high-end builds, that means your 5090, 4090s, your 7900 XTXs, your 3090. I would say 3090 is not really considered to need tier A. Probably a tier B PSU would be good enough. But anyway, the highest power requirement PSUs, you want tier A, so that to protect your PSU investment. I did highlight the 750 watt tier A PSUs, but honestly, if you are powering a high-end GPU, like a 4080 and above, you probably want to get at least 850 watt, if not at least 1000 watt PSU. I really don't see the point of getting a 750 watt tier A PSU because it's probably not enough wattage for your high-end GPU. At least a 850 watt or at least a 1000 watt. But anyway, I've highlighted if you're looking for a 750 watt tier A, there's an ADATA SPG Core Reactor 2 VE 750 watt ATX 3.0 80 plus Go PSU. Hey, I did a good job reciting that. That is from Dynacore at 125 SGD. And then for the 850 watt versions, we have the same ADATA SPG Core Reactor 2 VE 850 watt ATX 3.0 and so on. That is priced at 138 Sing dollars. And then if you are looking for brands other than ADATA, maybe you feel like ADATA is not so reputable, right? The Superflower Lead X series are actually rated pretty well. So these are tier A PSU. So the Superflower Lead X3 Go 850 watt. The cheapest I could find is from Bizgram Asia, priced at 149 Sing dollars. And the Superflower 850 watt Platinum Lead X 6 VI, which is 6. You can find one from Laser Distributor, priced at 149 Sing dollars as well. And if you're looking for the 1000 watt PSUs, right? I would recommend this. The cheapest I can find, the 1000 watt tier A rated PSU, is from Superpower Lead X6 Platinum Pro 1000 watt. This looks pretty good. This is priced at $219 from Laser Distributor. But even if that is sold out, you can see that it's selling for only at $220, $1 more from Trade Pack, and another $10 more from Infinity yeah, in Infinity Systems or something like that. So the shop is called Infinity. Also from Simlim. So pretty good deal for 1000 watt. But I would say the best deal for tier A PSU is this unit, the Superflower Lead X Platinum SE 1200 watt FM PSU at 233 Sing dollars from Trade Pack. So yeah, it's like why spend $220 to buy a 1000 watt PSU when you can just top up like $13 more, $14 more, and get a 1200 watt PSU. Both are tier A, right? So yeah, I would say this is the best deal because Trade Pack is selling it for the cheapest. The other places that are selling it for reasonable amounts is selling at 275. That's from Laser, or Infinity is also selling it at 300 SGD. Yeah, so I would say this is the best deal if you're going for a high-end GPU, or if you already have a high-end GPU and you want a reliable power supply to power your system for many years. This is the best deal. Okay. And that's all. So if you don't have if you have any questions or comments or requests, please list it down in the comments, and we will see you guys in the next one. So I'm Charlie from Vamos Gaming Systems, signing off.